Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD Get Shit Done Venture Studios, premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also EVA. I started one of the first generative AI companies, pre-transformer models, back in 2016. David Yang was my partner. But we believe at GSD that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. Today, GSD has 180 companies in our portfolio, representing 73 countries around the world. And with that, I'd like to have introduce our incredible guest today, Itzhak Pichadze, is CEO and founder of Frontline.io. And we're going to talk about his personal journey, a bit about Frontline, and a bit about his extensive background and how he came to where he is today. So with that, hi, Itzhak.
Hi, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's great. So can you share your personal journey and how you ended up founding Frontline? How did it start?
Oh, it was all started in a rainy day of January 18th of 1985. That was the day I was born. But Itzhak Pichadze, I'm the CEO and founder of Frontline.io, a 40-year-old entrepreneur, proud father of four. Still have my hair, even though I have a 15-year-old daughter. But
I've
amazing.
been there. I know what that's like.
Uh, you also have good hair, so I think it was easy.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I understand directly. I resemble that remark. I've been there.
Thanks. I've been in the simulation visualization in high-end 3D for the last 18 years, especially in XR, in the AR, VR, MR in the last 8 years, and AI in the last year and a half.
So, you've got an extensive background, right, in AR and VR and simulation, but what inspires you to focus specifically on cross-platform and cross-reality solutions?
It's mainly about the ROI. Because we started as a service company, we create services for companies in different verticals. It can be defense, it can be machinery, it can be print. And what we saw working with different areas in the company, like training, support, marketing, R&D, they're not talking to each other. So we, as a services, we gave them even the same department, multiple services, just again and again. And after doing that for 6 years, we saw, why does companies need to reach out to external vendors to create these experiences and not do it by themselves? So after 6 years of doing services, we gather all the assets, all the information, all the idea that we gathered over the years, and transform that into a platform that pretty much anyone can create rich, holographic, cross-platform, cross-reality experiences with zero coding and just pretty much using drag and drop. The idea came from years of working in this industry. So it's not like an epiphany that came from like some dream someday. It came from the ground up.
So, cross-platform, cross-reality, cross-use case, you had to have some challenges encountered building the platform. How did you make it so versatile, and what kind of challenges did you encounter?
So that's a good question. The main thing is that we wanted to cover the entire pipeline from supporting really big digital twins. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of parts that can render and can even work on any device, even on your mobile phone without streaming, completely offline or on an XR headset. And we started from that. So we have the digital twin, which is the base of the foundation of what we did. And then you can author and create experiences, maintenance, training, support, you name it, on that experience, on that digital twin. And then because we work really hard, and that's part of our secret sauce, that content is available on pretty much any device: PC, Mac, iOS, Android, tablets, VR headset, AR headsets. I think that was the main challenging thing, because you go into a company and you want to go over the POC plateau or the POC death valley, because a lot of in this industry, a POC gets stuck really easy and it doesn't scale because it's single-sided or single-trick pony. In Frontline, we said, okay, we want to take the entire flow from training, support, marketing, R&D, all in a single platform. So it's multi-ROI, multi-device, and multi-use case. So this way it can scale really fast. because at the end, it's two main things that you want to use in an organization: to create content easily and then deploy it to multiple users. That's the only way that you can scale. And if it's really hard to create content, it will not scale.
So how do you ensure seamless integration? You're taking VR headsets, mobile devices, AR glasses, and software. But how do you go down shore? Because the Germans have a phrase, Gestalt, the sum of the parts equal the whole. How do you make it seamless?
That's part of the secret sauce. We talked about gray hair, putting out a release of the app itself on multiple deployments on all the platforms. It's really hard. You need to cross check so many things, because at the end, it's not just you need to support PC and Mac and Android and iOS. They also need to talk between each other so you can have multi-user, multi-reality experiences that is collaborative. So then you start mix and matching all those tests, and it's not easy at all, but again, manageable. The main thing that we said that we want, as I said, we want to support the entire digital thread or the entire pipeline for an organization. And the only way to do that is support multiple devices, and we are hardware agnostic. And again, you're right, it is challenging, but we managed to fix that. And so our system is really scalable, even to add more hardware. And that's part of the charm.
So you've partnered with major corporations like Qualcomm and HP. What role do strategic partnerships play in Frontline's growth and success? How important are relationships? We have startups from all over the world, by the way, that watch our show. We've had about 1.4 million views. And they're always asked the question, how do we go down through, and how important are relationships? So if you could talk about that a little bit, that would be great.
That's the main thing. 5 years ago, I thought that I'll be the biggest 3D studio worldwide, as we will create experiences and training for everybody. And I changed that really fast because it's not scalable. You have a glass ceiling to creating services. That's why we went the SaaS way. So we have three types of partners. We have key lighthouse customers that give you insight about the platform. HP joined as a customer, and it's like night and day. You have a really big enterprise client that gives you feedback and also use cases and give you a thing that, okay, this is good, this is bad. That's valuable to anybody. We were lucky to have this big company join us as a lighthouse and give us all that information, also the use cases and the pain points that they have. And then you have technology partners. So they're the one like Meta, Apple, Qualcomm, and all these companies that create AR hardware, like Vuzix and etc., that you can combine with them, because hardware is amazing, but without the proper software, it's a paperweight. So that also a really thing that you need to connect with, because it's also not just a technology partner, but it's also a go-to-market channel, because they will also want to sell their hardware with your software. And the third one is channels. At the end, you want to support locally in the local area in their own language, is visit Europe, Asia, or the US, or even South America. Those channel partners can give support. They can also create integration to other companies, also create content for them and give them support. So these three combined, that's an amazing way to do a go-to-market strategy. And we don't compete with them. We want to create the platform. We want everybody else to create the content, experiences, and we will support that.
It's funny because for 5 years I worked for Hewlett Packard, actually many, many years ago, and I'm actually a vested HP employee. So actually, one of the, I got 5 promotions when I had worked with HP, working down in Washington. So, but it's a tough company to deal with, right? There's a lot of people. You have meetings to have meetings sometimes. But how did you learn? What did you learn by deploying, HP's XR services? How difficult was it to be able to do that in a company as big as HP?
I think you need to do a mind switch. Being a small startup, it's all about, okay, let's develop this feature as fast as possible. Let's put it out. It might have issues, but it needs to be fast and out. When you talk about enterprise, it's not like that. It's all about maturity, stability, and that at the end, you need to understand that anything that you make has thousands of users that are being affected on the other side. You need to do a mind switch on that. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges for startups, that they need to change the way they think. And it's not easy, but you still want to keep that young small boat navigating through navigating through the water in an easy way, because that's a living breathing spirit of a startup, because you need to navigate and respond fast. But mitigate that with, okay, working with enterprises, that's the main thing that you need to learn. And HP is a huge enterprise. We're a small boat. They're an aircraft carrier. We're a small boat. But it was an amazing thing
But
that you need to
sometimes
learn.
small boats win. You know that, right? I'm sure you were in the Israeli military. So,
Yeah, but at the end, even big aircraft carrier need to be moved around by small tugboats, and we're
yeah,
the
that's
tugboat.
right. Right. But they're big targets too.
Yes.
So, it's interesting because I actually spoke at the United Nations and I was asked to speak about AR and VR and the tool to combat violent extremism and terrorism. So I actually addressed the entire United Nations about that personally.
Nice.
So I know a little bit about it. But it's really interesting. So, you target sectors like aerospace and defense. Let's talk about how impactful in these industries. If you look at the future 5 years from now, how important for aerospace and defense are tools that you've been able to develop? How important will they be?
I think it will be instrumental. Right now, we mastered the base, which is XR, AR, VR, MR, mobile, and tablets with high-end digital twins. Right now, we're in the midst of adding our unique AI capabilities as well. When you combine AI with this rich spatial computing and spatial experiences, it's a night and day. Think about that anybody pretty much can put an AR headset on, and with it AI and the spatial experiences, it's quite amazing. Like, you have an employee that has zero training or didn't do this procedure for the last 20 years, can do really complex and high-end things on the spot just by AI and visual instruments. And when you go to, again, let's face it, DoD or defense or aerospace, you're not talking about machines that cost $50. Each aircraft can go from 100 million to $2 billion. So the high level of efficiency that you need to handle these kind of machines, it's quite significant, and it's getting more and more complex. And who's the one that is handling today? You have 19 to 21-year-old technicians that need to support these billion-dollar machines. So AI and XR combining together can really give them validation, support, doing things that even they're not sure of, and it's instrumental to do the next generation of technicians and operators.
There's unexpected industries or markets where there's a demand, but most people don't realize it. So I'm sure you've come across. So let's talk about, have you found some markets you said, I can't believe that our technology is going to move in that market beyond aerospace and defense, where you said this is quite interesting?
Yeah, so the thing is that these experiences can be everything. Today, we are mainly working with industries like semiconductor, where the IP security is off the roof, even more than defense. We're talking about print, just like HP and other companies as well. Medical devices is a huge emerging vertical as well, and it's across the board. At the end, it's all hardware related. But then you can go to other places. We have colleges that teach mechanical engineering that using Frontline to showcase how you do training or how do you create or maintain your thing that you just plan. And at the end, it will also have a B2C deployment as well. But right now we're focusing on B2B, but B2C can be schools, it can be pretty much whatever you think of. The sky is the limit.
I've been building startups in Silicon Valley for 39 years. I built 17 startups and a couple of unicorns. And so one of the things, just some nuggets of going through many, many companies. I lived in Russia, by the way, 12 years. So I started the ecosystem in Russia, one of the originators of the first accelerator actually in Russia many, many years ago. And one of the things that we learned is that intellectual capacity is evenly spread, but opportunities are not. But the other thing that we learned is that 90% of building a unicorn is not the product, it's the storytelling, right? The best storytellers win, and we forget about it sometimes. The other thing is the third pillar, Itzhak, is Silicon Valley is a port to the rest of the world. So it doesn't matter if you're if you're trying to work with the Navy, the Air Force in the U.S., European Space Agency, they have some representation in Silicon Valley because that's a place where it's like fishing, right? You go where the fish are. And sometimes we forget. It's like, we learn, we call keep it simple, stupid, the KISS principle, right? You got to keep it simple. And so that's, you've done an incredible job. Um, what are some of the biggest barriers? Sometimes people just don't get it, right? In adoption for XR technology. And how do you address those with Frontline?
So I think the biggest challenge is it, when you're adopting new technologies is that our biggest competitor is not another company. It's PDF or something that really old fashioned. Because they say, yeah, I just making a PDF or making a book, I just ship it and that's it. So you need to find these early adopters that share the light on these new technologies that says this is ready and this is available right now. Another challenge that we had, if you remember a few years back, we had all this metaverse hype that really, like it was a huge hype.
You know,
Together, God forbid, NFT. That was even a bigger hype
I
than that.
mean, sometimes Dutch tulips were a hype too. You remember, you've heard of that, right? The Dutch tulip phenomenon. We come up with some stuff, and all of a sudden, people make it called beanie babies in the old days, right? We come up with things and we push the price up. You got to be careful, right? Because sometimes Dutch tulips went down fast.
Yeah,
Um,
completely right. And so the thing that we're seeing that we had a lot of clients or prospects that we're talking to that they got affected by that hype. So at the end, every call that you start, you need to show them, okay, guys, this is real, this is scalable, this is mature, this is ready to be used today. Because at best, they try to do a POC of a few tens of thousands of dollars and fail. At worst, a few hundreds or millions of dollars, then it failed. So you need to gain trust again for these companies in this industry, and it's quite challenging. So I think that's the biggest barrier. And the other biggest barrier, when you talk about enterprises, it's not easy to work with a 30-man team that is really small. You said, hey, wait, I prefer to work with a company like HP or IBM or Microsoft, even though we can be 10 times better than them or from the Microsoft product. But still, it's challenging to be a small company working with huge enterprises. But again, I think that at the end, once you have a good product, you let that speak for yourself. It will take a bit longer to gain their trust, but you need to understand, especially in this industry, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You need to gain their trust. They need to trust you and see that you're really there and you're here for the long run. Once you're there, it's golden.
One of the things, I've done a lot of work in Israel myself. So I've done, once a month I was working with one of the Israeli trade commissions and talking to startups and presenting to them and bringing folks in. But one of the things, and this is just something to think about, right? Israel's like having a Ferrari in the garage sometimes, and you got to get the Ferrari out, and it's not just driving in the neighborhood; it's winning the race. And one of the things, and sometimes a lot of the folks are really technical, right? Super technical, but they don't value marketing and sales and business development. They don't understand the power of it and how much of a difference it really makes. Because you could have two products and one, well, Facebook, right? Friendster and MySpace. And what happens when, people get behind you, all of a sudden everything changes. So when you look at it on your side, the other thing is with global deployments, right? It's tough sometimes taking a deployment around the world. There's different cultures, Nigeria, the US, Europe,
And
Germany. So how do you go down through, when you're going to the European Union, you go down through to Germany. How do you do those global deployments? And what are some of the challenges or lessons that you've learned to be effective and efficient and optimized to be able to do those?
That's a good question. So right now we are transitioning from a small boat to a medium boat, and because we want to be a global company. So our headquarters is in the States. We have US sales support in the States itself. We are keeping the R&D and product in Israel to give support on the product itself. We have a sales office that also in Europe, and we have channel partners that supporting in Japan, Asia, and also in the Middle East. I think that's the main thing. You need to choose where you want to focus, and on other areas, find key partnerships and key partners that can support your goal, but also really understand the small mimics of that local experiences. Like in Japan, it will be really hard for me as a Western guy to go because I don't know all the customs and all the mimics. Um, but for him, as he lives there, it's amazing. So he can speak their language, he can support them locally on their own time. I don't know if you ever tried to work with from Silicon Valley to work with Japan. It's like a 16 hours difference. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I have companies in Japan, so I've done a lot of work, and I had investors. I've had a number of investors from Japan and some of the largest corporations. So I've done it, and but those cultural sensitivities are all over, right? And it's just like dealing in Israel. Sometimes people don't understand the bluntness. I've been in meetings with other senior executives, Israeli senior executives, and the meetings sometimes, especially when it comes to budgets, aren't so easy, are they?
Not so easy. And in the end, it's sometimes when you look aside, it looks like it's fighting, but it's not fighting. Just having a discussion, but they get a bit excited.
Yeah,
But
well,
again,
that's part of it. But those cultural difference, those nuances of those cultural differences are critically important. And the one thing that comes to the top, Itzhak, is trust and credibility. And sometimes, the other thing is most people don't realize that 99% of the wealth is 1% of the population. They own everything. And if you deal with those family offices, I'm down at my house in Palm Beach right now. I'm into polo dressage and jumping. And so a lot of those families are my neighbors. And when you're going down through and you hear the stories, they have, they're limited partners in every one of the venture funds, pretty much. And so what happens is, unless you know, you don't know, right? Because they're behind this golden gate. And once you get behind the gate, then you see how things really work. And it's a whole lot different than what you think. I mean, it's amazing what kind of strings can be pulled for successes. I've heard it, right? I've been in those meetings myself. So it's amazing. Um, but, as a founder and CEO, what leadership lessons have you learned from growing frontline? How have you changed and morphed? Let's look at where you were 10 years ago and where you are today. How have you changed?
oh, that's a really good question. So I'm also the chief technologist in the company itself. So I'm more like technical CEO. And I think that the main thing, if I give you the main thing that I learned in the last 10 years is one word: delegate. Don't keep it all for yourself. Don't try to do everything. At the end, you hire such amazing
Right.
team,
Or
such
you kill
amazing.
yourself, or you kill yourself if you try. I know people that try doing it, and there's only one person I know that's really, really good at it, and that's Elon Musk. He's one of the best I've ever seen in my life and he delegates, but he also can do stuff. I mean, it's unbelievable, actually. So there are a few, but very few. But you're right, delegate. And then how has that impacted you? How hard was it to give up? You're a technology guy. How hard is it to give up when you have the vision?
So it's not easy. I still sing and do R&D, especially R. And at the end, you have to be keep up with all the latest technology, especially with AI, where things are changing pretty much every 5 seconds. Um, so I really love it, but I also love the business side. And when we look at where I need to be today, it's mainly on the business side: marketing, sales, collaboration, doing all these connections with the technology partners, as I said, Apple, Meta, Qualcomm, and etc. That is where I needed more. Still, keep an eye on what your R&D team is doing, what's the technology stack, and where you're looking forward. At the end, they need an open door to me to ask questions. That's really important. But trust them and let them lead the technology wise. And I think that's the main thing. The delegate on that side, it wasn't easy at all. So I'm a
You're
self-taught
you're
technologist.
smiling when you're saying it too, because you like to control things, right?
So technology wise, it's my baby, but I think I managed to get in a way that I just give my VP of R&D, hey, it's all yours. Ask me whatever you need if you need help, but you're the one responsible. It took me some time to get there. It's not easy to do that, especially when you love it. So I'm blessed and I'm cursed. I'm blessed that I really love what I'm doing, both on technology and the business side. I'm cursed that I really love what I'm doing. So at the end, you invest a lot of hours of the day to work on that because you have fun. It becomes your hobby as well. But it was a road to be there.
So, what advice would you give other Israeli entrepreneurs looking to enter the XR tech, or entrepreneurs worldwide looking to enter the XR technology space today? What should they be? What should they be doing, and how fast should they move?
I think the main thing is don't try to teach the industry or the vertical that you want to work how it's supposed to be. Mainly, first listen, actually find the problem that you want to solve, and don't guess or invent a problem that's not there. You see a lot of companies today that are creating technologies and amazing products that don't have actually use case. First, really deep dive and listen. What does the market need? And then do that research, and then do your product. Do an MVP, get more feedback. There's nothing perfect. Perfect is the biggest enemy of success, pretty much. At the end, you need to go out, you need to try, you need to get feedback and improve. I think those two main things are the key elements that you need to do. Because sometimes, especially entrepreneurs, especially technology entrepreneurs, get in love with the product and think it's the best thing that ever anybody made.
Yeah,
And
that's where you're. That's a danger zone.
oh yeah,
I
uh,
mean, that's my friend wrote a book called the Startup Owner's Manual. So Bob Dorff and Steve Blank wrote it, and they talk about things like validation, hypothesis testing. In fact, Bob was a dean of my school that I had in Russia, actually, and I've known him for almost 30 years. And so they came up with this that the if you don't test it and you start to build it, the chance of going out of business is really high. So you need to go down through and validate your hypothesis to make sure it's something people really want. It's not that you want, or your partner wants, your co-founder wants, or a couple of friends want, because your friends will tell you it's all good, no matter what you tell them. Oh, I love that. This is great. You're so smart, Itzhak. I can't believe you come up with this. In reality, they're trying to make you feel good. You got to test it. So what we used to do, by the way, is go down University in Palo Alto, and I would talk to people in the street. I'd take my laptop and I would take my iPhone, and I would literally go down to, do you have 2 or 3 minutes? I'd like to talk to you. And I'd use open-ended statements that says, what do you think of this? It saved me so much time and so many millions of dollars doing that, because you would understand what people want, not what you think they want, but the kind of things they want to do. And then once you do that and you understand, you hit the mark, we got product market fit when they're grabbing out of your hands, and you can't keep it, you can't produce enough of it to make them happy. You got to keep producing. Then, you start to get it. But here's the other danger. If you don't iterate, if you don't continually iterate, you're going to go out of business, because eventually somebody's going to pass you.
I completely agree. Even today, we engraved on ourselves to listen to the market. So 70% of our roadmap is what our customer feedback and market needs. Only 30% is what we think what it should be. I think that's a healthy mix, because you're not here to dictate what the market needs. You need to listen. But again, keep that 70, 30, 60, 40 split, and it will be healthy.
No, I agree. Listen, we're coming up to the top of the show. If you want to stay on for a few minutes afterwards, after we stop, we can talk. So, closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
Ah, I'll be more than happy. I have my LinkedIn account here, my email. Feel free to reach out, even ask questions about things that you want to I don't know, experiences or ask, or more than happy to answer. At the end, we need to support the next generation as well, and give feedback and give use cases. And that's how we improve. We help other, and it's a small world. It's sometimes it's really surprising to find that if you do something really small, and it may be a year or 2 year later, and sometimes it's surprising how small world it is, and you'll find that connection really useful.
No, I agree. Um, Itzhak, again, thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join my show today. Top Global Startups. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And we'll be back to you again soon with another exciting edition. And good seeing you, Itzhak. Erica, it's good to see you. And I'll talk to you all again soon.
Thank you.